RPG in their back pocket and said, you know what, I just feel like taking it out and firing it. So, and then she called the Libyan president, told the Libyan president, hey, we know this is a terrorist attack. We believe it's Ansar al-Sharia. And then the next morning, after they doubled and tripled down on the whole narrative that this was related to a YouTube video and spontaneous, then she tells the Egyptian prime minister, no, it's not related to a YouTube video. This was a terror attack, while simultaneously building an elaborate lie for the American people. Now that's bad government. That's why I worry about the tipping point and whether or not we can save the country. And that's why I think this election is so important. You know, look, the Democrats are pretty clear in what they want to give you. Free college, free family leave, government daycare. Can you imagine? You think your kids are dumb now? I mean, I think liberals would be happy. We have children. We get to hold them for 10 seconds, hand them over to the government so that they can indoctrinate them into good little socialists. They want to expand child care so your kids will be sicker than they are now. Expand Social Security. Hillary wants a new Deal. They want to, I love this one, force corporations to share their profits. I'm like, really? Are all those people going to share in the risk? And when we lose money, do they lose money too? But again, freedom is out the door. Expand Medicare. The poor get more Social Security. I love this one. You have this in California. In-state college tuition rates for people that are in the country illegal. That's ingenious. And driver's licenses. You know, I can't miss anything here. You guys are filling in all the gaps. Obamacare subsidies for illegal immigrants. You know, and then we haven't even talked about the rise of ISIS. We haven't even talked about all the things that matter. The free Obama phone? I'm just going to say this and then I'll open it up to questions. I think we have an answer. And that's the good news. I like answers. I was disappointed in 2014. I was suggesting, I'm not a Republican. I am so disgusted. I called 2 years ago for John Boehner to step aside. We need a new... I am disappointed. In 2010, we elected these guys, and they promised that they would repeal and replace Obamacare. Now, they gave us all these symbolic votes where they'd go out and they'd be able to go back to their district and say, I voted to repeal and replace Obamacare, but they were symbolic votes. They were never going to become the law. They were never going to take a stand. There was that pivotal moment in 2013 when Senator Ted Cruz took to the Senate floor, filibustered, and said, all right, we all made this promise. Let's use our enumerated power of the purse. Let's defund Obamacare. Let's have a showdown with the president. And he became the enemy of the Republican Party of a major campaign promise they made in 2010. This entire election in 2014, similar situation. Obama is passing executive amnesty, something he 25 times himself said he couldn't do. He did it anyway. Republicans ran against it, said they'd stop it and defund it. They get elected. We do our job. They make their promises. They get to Washington. They pass a omnibus, which was stupid because they gave up their leverage in December heading into 2015. They say, we'll defund the Department of Homeland Security, and they ended up funding executive amnesty. And now they won't even take a stand on defunding Planned Parenthood, even though we have on video people selling body parts for profit so that they can buy Lamborghinis, which is pretty twisted and sick, has nothing to do with abortion. It has everything to do with human dignity and human respect. So this is what I'm looking for. I wanted them in 2014 to run on a positive vision that will solve the country's problems. And the positive vision to me is really going back to the basics. My kids are nationally ranked tennis players. If they're struggling with their strokes, go back to the basics. You know, hit with more spin, you know, use your mental toughness techniques, the simple things that you used to do, don't make it complicated. All I want is an America that stops robbing from our kids, and I would like to see Paul Ryan, the Republicans, and the next president put their promises on paper. The most consequential speaker in the last 50 to 100 years was Newt Gingrich, right? We can learn from that experience. He put all his promises on paper. He kept every one of his promises. He left not only a balanced budget, but a projected $5 trillion surplus down the line. He gave us welfare reform. He got a president that was liberal to say the era of big government is over and the end of welfare as we know it. And he shut down the government twice, and he never gave away his leverage. So I want to see Republicans duplicate that and take a vision that says it's immoral to rob from our kids. We've got to balance our budget and live within our means. I like the penny plan. You cut one. Racist, I think we're just demanding the respect. The first prerequisite to be an American citizen is you got to obey the laws. First thing. And thank you up there in the corner. By the way, they're in the luxury suite up here. I know, they gave you orange juice and coffee. They have Bloody Marys. I asked Paul Ryan, I talked to him, he swore to me, take it for what it's worth, that he's no pathway to citizenship. And trust and verify, right? So if we just balance our budget, I would like all these guys to put these ideas on paper, balanced budget, secure the border, choice in education. I want a tough national defense that actually recognizes that radical Islamic terrorism exists. Put that on paper too, and you put it down and you lay out that vision and you put your name on that paper and you say, I will vote for this and I will go to the mat for these issues. If we do that, we can change the country around. Ronald Reagan gave a very famous speech before CPAC in 1974. In that speech, he raised a rhetorical question. Is it a third party we need or a revitalized second party with no pale pastels but bold color differences? Right now, the Republican Party has zero distinction from the Democratic Party. There is nothing that has happened under Boehner. Well, they do in rhetoric. I would argue that everything that has passed in the last 5 years under Boehner would have passed under Nancy Pelosi. They have the same what? Yeah, that's a problem. Isn't that why a lot of people like Trump, because he's self-funded? You know, last night he goes, who are you voting for, ma'am? So that's what I would like to see, and I think it's worth fighting for. Because Sean Hannity that grew up, and I remember when I had $200 in the bank, and I had to drop out of college 3 times because I had no money, and I started in radio and was fired in 40 hours, had really little hope of success, and drove a van to a state where I didn't know a single person in Alabama. They made fun of my New York accent. Yeah. Sean, how you doing? Man, you talk funny. That was the first call. So what are you talking about? I'm going, you talk like a weirdo. What do you mean? I was paid $19 grand a year, then I moved up to another big market, and then I got very blessed. I'm now in my 20th year. I can't believe it at the Fox News channel. More important than they've ever been. I worry about the electoral map. I'm worried about California. I don't share your optimism yet. Oregon, Washington, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. For Republicans to win, you got to think about this. They got to win every swing state. They've got to win Florida. No Republicans become president without Ohio. They got to keep North Carolina. I was worried last election, Mitt Romney, the hours went on before they could finally call North Carolina. You got Virginia, where every D.C. Republican has now moved into Northern Virginia, every liberal person on the government payroll. Then you got, states like, you got